Hi, my name is Emily Chu, and I'm an illustrator and designer here in Edmonton. I'm really excited to be here to celebrate this online edition and celebration of the Mid-Autumn Festival, and I thought it'd be really fun to draw together and to design a mooncake. While I draw, I will try to share some traditions and stories with you of how I celebrate the holiday with my family, as well as I'll give you a glimpse of what it's like to be an illustrator and some of my processes of making digital art. So first of all, I've actually set up a couple of colors here. So I'm going to be using a red. Red is a very festive and, bright, bold, and happy and lucky color in Chinese culture. So I'm going to be using a little bit of red. In addition, we'll see how it goes, but I think I'm going to add a secondary color. And I'm going to put that on a multiply layer. So what a multiply layer means is that it's more like a transparent layer, so you're able to create everything in a flat color, but then it also interacts with the layer underneath kind of as a transparency. So I think these are pretty good colors to go along with. So let's get started. I'm going to put everything on a new layer here, so I'm just in my layer template, and today I'm going to be drawing a rabbit. So rabbits are pretty important during this holiday. I've been told since I was little that if you look up at the sky during the Mid-Autumn Festival that you'll see a rabbit in the moon. So that's kind of where the inspiration is coming from for this piece. I'm going to draw some ears. Perhaps give him kind of like a big cheek. And body. So as you can see, I work really, really loosely when I'm in Photoshop, and I enjoy drawing digitally for that reason. It allows me to make a lot of mistakes, so I can go back and forth and make these very gestural lines. So there's that. I might make him just a little bit longer. So I'm kind of correcting as I go. I should also mention that I have some brushes that I've made, and they're free brushes that I've downloaded from the internet, but over the years I've adapted them to suit my needs as well. So this particular one that I'm using right now is inspired by a pencil, and I don't actually remember if this is my brush or if this is a downloaded brush that I've adapted over the years, but I do like just the quality of this with sensitivity. I can get really, really textured lines, and then if I press a little harder it can be quite strong as well. So I do like drawing with this. So as elements, I think I'm just going to do a little bit of again, this is just really loose. Draw a couple of texture elements as well. I'm going to draw him holding a lantern. Lanterns are also used quite a bit during the holiday. I imagine because since everyone's looking up at the moon, you want to dim your lights to kind of get the best effect. So yeah, here's a bunny. I'm drawing his face a little bit more. Nose. And perhaps I'll give him a little bit more of a smile. It's hard to see, so I'm just going to edit this a little bit more. Perfect. I'm actually going to correct this ear as well. It's facing kind of I'm going to face it the other way. Just for the symmetry of the two. Great. So I'm going to do that. The next thing that I usually like to do is I do like to add a little bit of texture into my work. So I'm going to take this brush, which is kind of like a sponge brush. I'm going to add and chip away at it because I actually don't really like to work too linear. It's usually fine, but I actually enjoy adding texture so that it blends with the line, and then I can erase the line in a little bit so that it looks a little bit more 3D. Yeah, most of my work is actually quite linear when I do patterns, so I'm always trying to push myself to draw more in shapes and texture that way, so that this way, if you look at it, and I'm going to use the eraser to clean away at some of the edges. The more I clean away, the more it just looks less like a line and more as almost like a 3D shape or shadow. So I think that's the effect that I'm going to go with this one. And then we'll add it to the back side. So rather than before. And the great thing about my brushes that I've adapted over the years is that as an eraser, I can use all of my brushes as erasers as well. So if I choose that same pencil as an eraser, I'm able to kind of keep that same texture. So it's less, you know, so it doesn't interfere as much. It doesn't look like you're using a hard eraser. It just looks like you're chipping away with the same tool. So yeah, so this part is actually probably less exciting as I start to refine my picture. And yeah, the great thing with drawing digitally is I'm able to rotate my canvas, and it still feels a lot like drawing manually, analog with pen and paper. So it captures that process, but it does allow me a lot more versatility in making mistakes, trying new things, and just being a little bit more careless, I guess, during the process, so that I'm not being a perfectionist. There we go. So there's the two ears. So for the eyes, I think I'm going to keep that one a little bit more, I'm going to keep that a little bit more clean. Yeah, so during the Mid-Autumn Festival, normally I like, with my family, we just have a potluck dinner with our family friends. I actually grew up, I did grow up in Canada, but I was born in Beijing, and I moved here when I was 5 years old. So I never went to school there, in China. And my family here has been quite small. So it's just me and my parents. So during the New Year and during the Autumn Festival and pretty much any holidays, we would spend that with family friends, and those family friends would be other small families like ours, that had small children or similar aged kids. So I grew up with a lot of family friends and aunties and uncles, and lots of really close friends within a couple of years of my age that I would consider them like sisters or cousins. And in addition to mooncakes, which we actually didn't have a lot of, we would only buy, probably because of the size of our families, we would only buy a couple, or sometimes we gifted a box and we cut each one into about 6 to 8 pieces and sample. We'd also have lots of fruit and whatever that's in season, so melons and peaches. So yeah, just lots of fresh fruit, home cooked meals, and then like a little bit of a taste of mooncakes and desserts. So as you can see, I'm still working on the texture of the illustration. This build-up of drawing and erasing and adding texture usually takes the longest time. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give a little bit more definition within and around the perimeter of the figure, and as well as I'm going to start adding a little bit of color. That color, which I wasn't sure if I was going to get to, is really just to separate the figure and the ground. So the ground being the sky and stars, and then the figure being the rabbit, and also using that overlay, those elements to kind of create a third color. So any part that overlaps is a darker, either line work or shadow, but it's a darker color to give a little bit more definition, almost using it kind of as like a black. So I'm pretty much just filling in more and more of the structure of the rabbit. As you can see, I've included some stars and still building on both layers, both the blue and the red, to add to the illustration. Yeah, and growing up, in addition to mooncakes, actually, we just had a lot of cake as well. So just cake we would buy from the grocery store, like Co-op and, I guess like Safeway and Save-On. I actually grew up in Calgary for most of my life, so we actually would go to like the Co-op in the Northwest. Yeah, we would just eat a lot of things that were moon-shaped or circular. I guess it was significant to us as a family. I'm sure to most families that we had family overseas and my grandparents were overseas, and eating these moon shape goods was a way to celebrate with them, being in different places, but all celebrating the moon. So yeah, as I'm getting towards the final touches here, it's pretty much coming to shape. I'm starting to think about little details to add. So as you can see, the lantern, and also perhaps some decorative elements too, because the rabbit is quite white. And I want to take the opportunity to add some floral and decorative elements to help complete the piece. So yeah, so a little bit of cutting and pasting here and there, and still cleaning things up, but getting there to kind of the final touch-ups of the piece. So yeah, I'm also adding a bit of a border. As you can see, what I'm doing right now is just it's a shadow around the piece. I want to make sure that the piece can stand on its own. So I'll show you at the end, but once I eliminate or hide the stencil or the template, I really want the shapes to hold on their own. So it's cleaning up a little bit more of the stars. And then very shortly, I'm going to work on the border as well. Like often you see on borders and mooncakes, it's decorative all over. So I do want to make sure that I have a nice repetitive pattern to go around and complement the illustration in the center. So yeah, once I finish one, then I can copy and paste them onto the other ones. It's kind of like a nice little rainbow circular design that I'm going to cut and paste. And then that's pretty much it. Once I get that out, I will show you what the final looks like. So here is the final illustration. The illustration of my bunny and a mooncake. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it for roughly about a 1 hour drawing. And I'll give you an idea of what it looks like as well. So here's the template that I was working within, and then the blue layer, and then the red layer on top. So yeah, thank you so much for watching along with me, and I really encourage everyone else to draw and design a mooncake as well for the holidays. I'm actually going to make this template available for download, so that'll just be available on my website, which is right here, heyemilychu.com/mooncake. Please feel free to download. You can draw your own. It would be a great way to celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival in a virtual way, as well as with art. And if you do have the time to create your own design, please send your mooncake artwork to me. I'm at heyemilychu.com. You can also send them directly to me on social media at heyemilychu on Instagram and Twitter. Not only would I be very happy to see them, I would love to repost them and share as well. So thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival.